My 11 Circle presents Cricbuzz Live. All you have to do is take out a big atlas or a globe and look at this trans-Tasman rivalry purely from a geographical, not a cricketing point of view. And you'll see there's this one large country, the little Tasman Strait, and then the small country called New Zealand. As far as this match was concerned, the end of it looked as if it was the bigger team that really triumphed on top. Didn't look like that at the halfway stage, but at the end, Australia showing the might of 5 World Cups, and let's confirm exactly why we are saying what we're saying. 243 for 9, again, at the back of a wonderful innings from Usman Khawaja. The partnerships with Carey and help from Cummins towards the end took them to a score that didn't really look enough with New Zealand's batting might, but once Kane Williamson was gone, it was downhill all the way. Just 157, couldn't bat out the 50 overs by a distance, 43.4 overs. And look, just for good measure, Mitchell Starc picks up a fifer. Here to discuss everything, we've got in the studio well into the night, but of course it was worth it. Fabulous doubleheader on a Saturday. Joy Bhattacharya, Robin Uthappa, the Calcutta trio have come together. Robin, it was Australia really showing their strength where it matters. With big teams stand up when they haven't played their best cricket, but they still come out on top.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I think they really dominated the whole second innings. But it almost felt as if New Zealand were looking to just bat well and not get out, more than looking to run down the score. It just felt like they were looking to stay not out. You know, they weren't willing to take chances at important phases in the game. There comes a time where, you know, that push needs to get into a shove mode, you know, and that just didn't happen for New Zealand today. I think they got into too much of a shell, and then later it was just too late. It was too late for them to even react, you know, because once that wicket went, Kane Williamson's wicket fell, you knew that you know, there's a crack there now, there's a chance there. Then once Ross Taylor went, you knew there was too much pressure. And then back-to-back wickets, losing the Grand Home, just first ball, it was all downhill from there.
Yeah, it certainly was. And of course, the magic of the bowling changes. When Starc came on, he takes a wicket, comes on again, takes a wicket, throws the ball to Steve Smith, he takes a wicket.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Finch must be thinking, what else can I do right? Because he used 8 bowlers and somehow contrived to use them perfectly. The other big thing, not one, just 150-run partnership. And the one thing that New Zealand will worry about, I think they still have a very good chance of qualifying, is how dependent they are on Kane Williamson. So on a day that he didn't do badly, he still got a 40, he was still the top scorer for his team. Every time he is not getting the big runs, they're not crossing the line. And that's going to worry them really big.
Yeah,
even Ross Taylor, for that matter, Joyda, and you see 2 matches he hasn't performed like he has in the previous matches, and you suddenly see that, you know, they're just finding themselves on real shaky ground. I think those 2 are the guys that every team will be looking to target when they're playing New Zealand. They really want to hope that, you know, guys like Martin Guptill really shows up. I really thought he would. It felt like he would the way he started, but then he got himself into a shell, and then, you know, that was just a story today.
It certainly was, and the progression, if you can call it that, they weren't really progressing, as Robin said. It was pretty static. So if you look at Australia's innings, despite having lost those early wickets and having not made that many in the end, the momentum was with New Zealand towards the end, that 55 for 4 we talked about, including the Bolt hat-trick. But it didn't matter because they just had New Zealand on a go-slow throughout.
Yeah, and just getting wickets. See, I mean, Grand Home was ridiculous. You know, you walk in there, the situations are seeing you've lost a top batsman. Ross Taylor's gone at that side. Lytham is just settling in. He's not had a great World Cup. That's not the first shot you play. And that too, you know, I know it's a part-time bowler. You think Steve Smith is a chance, but you've got to set your eye and you've got to have something out there. You're taking on a fielder who's already there. And it was just poor shot selections, the kind of game that New Zealand would want to forget, not because Australia won, but because Australia gave them a chance. 243 was a definite chance, and they didn't make use of it. No, that's what would worry me.
Maybe Colin de Grand Home, Jordan, I was just thinking what must have been going through his mind at that point in time. He must have thought, you know, I'm going in there, I'm batting with Lytham, so Latham's going to hold one end up. Maybe I can just go on the attack and try and change the whole course of the game, try and build momentum. Maybe if I maybe this is the best opportunity for me to get going. There's a part-time leg spinner bowling to me. Maybe I'll try and hit him over extra covers for a 4 or a 6. Maybe I'll just get the momentum going for us. Maybe that's what was behind his mind when he played that shot. It does seem like a brain fade from here, but I'm just trying to think from that batsman's perspective as in what was he trying to achieve. From his perspective as to what he was probably trying to achieve by playing the way he did. Yeah, maybe that could be the
Absolutely.
mindset and sure, he must have, it is a gamble, you know, first ball, it's a gamble that you take where, you know, if it doesn't come off, you look like really foolish, but if it sorry, does come off and they happen to score a few more runs, you know, you never know.
No, my only problem, and I think I agree with you. He might have decided to run. My problem would have been, why do it in the first ball? Take, you know, one ball, two balls. The
Maybe
other I
he
would have
felt, you
said
know,
is,
part-time leg spinner.
also you have a long off fielder.
Yeah.
I mean, you're taking on
Yeah.
a fielder. I mean, if
Yeah.
it was clear mid-off was in, you go take a shot. You know,
It felt, you know, I saw the replay that maybe I felt like maybe he was trying to go over extra covers, so, you know, so, you know, he kind of shanked it, that's why it probably went a long off. Maybe that's not where he was aiming, because a lot of times, you know, you go into that mindset, ki, our first ball, I'll score a boundary, put pressure on the bowler, you know, and and maybe that will help put pressure on the other team. You go in sometimes with that mindset, but it doesn't work off, and you tend to look foolish, and you're like, hey,
exactly.
And you talk about part-time. I mean, it's a part-time leg spinner who turned to another part-time trade, which is off-spin. Here you're thinking it's Steve Smith, who doesn't bowl too often. Now that he's come on to bowl, he'll bowl what he normally bowls. He bowled one that was turning into Colin de Grandhomme, and that was the end of that. And it was just the use of his bowlers. We thought early on in the innings, what's wrong with Aaron Finch? And,
you know, I felt he never really felt under pressure. He thought at no point did New Zealand put any pressure on him as a captain. You know, he felt after a point like, hey, I can really play around my bowlers. I can really look at who my options are. You know, maybe, is Steve Smith bowling well in a match situation? Let me just give him a couple of overs and see what he does. You know, let's give Stoinis a couple of overs. Let's give Maxi a couple of overs. You know, that's what he must have been thinking. Let me even rest my bowlers to keep those mystery factors up going. So, you know, maybe he gave, you know, Pat Cummins like a little bit of an easy go, you know, said, you know, let's save him for the next game.
And even if he needed to go back to him, imagine now if New Zealand had stitched together a bit of a partnership, you still had enough from Stark, who bowled at the end, and Cummins at 4 overs, having bowled 6 overs for just 14.
No, they did it beautifully. Stark came back. Remember, the moment Stark came back, he got a wicket. That was the only partnership they got. That's literally 42 odd to 97. And he brings him back in the 26th over, and immediately Stark gives him result.
Yeah.
So he wasn't ever under pressure. You're right. He did the bowling change, immediately got results from it. Didn't have to bother after that.
Yeah,
look back.
and you also see every time he bowled, he came with the only intention of getting wickets. He bowled 3 overs in the start, went off. You know, and let Barendorf got a couple of breakthroughs. He was used strictly as a partnership breaker, wicket-taking bowler. That is his role, clear and simple. It wasn't about keeping it tight. And if you see, look at the intent of the batsmen. They were looking at, you know, not getting out to him. See, playing him off. In that process, you know, Kane Williamson got out, because that's a very soft dismissal for Kane.
Yeah, it was almost a guide, and it's not that there was a slip there.
Yeah, there
was
a
not
slip.
even that he was trying to get it past the keeper without a slip.
I thought he was looking to play it down, and at the same time, I think because he turned the face of the bat, it kind of opened up and kept going up. He intended to keep it down. I think that was just to run it down to third man for a single. That must have been the intent.
And also, he rolled his fingers over the ball. It
was a slower ball,
10 kilometers only.
More a little.
So it's slower ball at 140.
Yeah, slow ball, kicked a bit. Yeah, all sorts of things. And he's a very, 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 you know, bowler with a lot of variation, with a lot of ability, and he's always, that's what he's doing. He's always giving it to the captain. Every time the captain has thrown the ball to him, he's delivered. Because you're right, they're very clear about who's supposed to take the wickets. 24 wickets in 8 matches.
3 fifers, the first time in World Cup history. 3 fifers in the same World Cup. 24 wickets not in the same World Cup. First wicket taker to take 3 fifers in World Cups. And 24 wickets is what he's leading, well ahead of Lockie Ferguson. Jofra Archer will be in action tomorrow.
And also nice to see pure fast bowlers getting wickets. It's not just, you know, guys who just do a lot with the ball and all that. These are pure and simple, great fast bowlers who are all really good at what they do. It's fantastic to see them in the wickets.
And also when you see how he was used, you know, you have to give credit to Finch also. Finch brought him in at a point where he said, okay, now it seems like we're getting into their tail, bring my best bowler on. Let's see what he can do and let him get a few more wickets. And look, the more wickets you take like this, he's got his third fifer. Every game you're going to play, every batsman is going to be so much more intimidated because you're in form. And you take wickets, whether you take the top order or the middle order, the lower order, it doesn't really matter. It just makes you look so much of a bigger bowler, you know, when you're going to face him.
Yeah, it certainly does. It's absolutely a no-brainer when we were trying to calculate all the points as to who scored the most in the My 11 circle. Beat the expert race. and it is our MVP, the My 11 Circle MVP, Mitchell Starc. 9.4 overs, still had enough in the tank. He was looking for, are there any more batsmen in the pavilion? No, we're all done. Oh dear, I couldn't take another two. He would have taken it if he had a chance. Who's our Beat the Expert champion? Let's have a look, and 437.25, so it must have been a close fight, because we've had 550s, 600s, Aslam Ansari from Uttar Pradesh, but what we continue to like about this is that we've got people from every corner of the country playing. So well done UP, and that's Mitchell Starc. But I think the numbers that we're really looking at, no matter what, it's not the runs, it's not the wickets, it's not the My 11 Circle champions, it's the points table. That is what is starting to matter now at this stage of the tournament. Remember, after 2 or 3 games, we said, doesn't matter who's on top, who's 4th, 5th, it's going to matter now, the business end. Australia on 14, New Zealand could have leapfrogged up to 13 had they won this game. Australia would have been stuck on 12. So Australia now, already with that queue, are now at 14. India play tomorrow against England, and that is looking more and more grim for the host nation.
Yeah, absolutely. The only other thing which is interesting out here is, notice it's just not just a defeat for New Zealand, but look at their run rate. They were more than +1 at that point in time, and it's a big defeat. It's cost them a lot in terms of run rate. They're down to +0.5.72, which actually will give then Pakistan a bit of succor that they're not so badly off. It's still a long, long way, but Pakistan need a really big win. But they'll be hoping that if New Zealand go down badly to England, there's still a chance out there. And that's the outside chance they need.
And of course, if you've noticed something a little unfamiliar about that points table, it's been a little boring from the 9th of June, at least in terms of the 4 teams that were on top. You were almost saying, is the semi-final quartet decided? Maybe about 10 days ago, we were all in agreement that it was, because even 5th and 6th were like ifs and buts. Can Sri Lanka do this? Can Pakistan do this? But we were not giving them a realistic chance. After the result between Pakistan and Afghanistan, a narrow one it might have been, but that's where the points table changed. For the first time, seeing the top 4, seeing England pushed outside there, and what a victory it was for Pakistan. 227 for 9 we thought should have been a cakewalk given the way they have been chasing in this tournament. But look at that, no 50s. First game, Robin, in this entire World Cup where no batsman has got to a 50, and that's what made it such a keen contest.
It was a brilliant contest. Credit must be given to Imad Wasim for the way he batted. I think every other batsman, again, the same mindset that the New Zealanders had. They were trying to stay not out. If you go with that intent, chances of getting runs or chasing down a score is not going to happen. We discussed in the mid-match show that what New Zealand need to do is counter-attack, because of a fact Australia is going to attack, so counter-attack. Even here, Afghanistan, you knew that the spinners are the ones who are going to take wickets. How the best way to play against guys like Rashid, guys like Mujib, is to counter-attack them. When you counter-attack them, they start feeling weak, or the confidence drops, and you see that they start leaking runs. And you can see with the way Imad batted, calculated risk. Obviously, Wahab came in, saved him, did justice as well. And at the end, I think off air we were discussing that they need to go against Gulbuddin Naib and take on these guys, because these are the guys that you can get those big runs from, and that's what happened in the end. You got big runs from the guy that you could get, but you also have to that puts a lot of pressure on the main bowlers as well. But taking on the main bowlers is going to be the key for these teams moving forward who want to get up there in the top 4.
But it was not just a discussion that we were having. Imad Wasim said after the game, it's a discussion he was having with the non-strikers, saying that, listen, yes, if we can find a bad ball from Rashid or Mujib, we'll go after them, but otherwise, they've still got something from a pacer coming. Let's go after that and change the equation.
46th over, 18 runs. That was the match. I mean, that match was so crucial, and that's a question. I mean, you can always say they could have bowled Mujib again, bowled Rashid, taken a chance maybe in the 48, 49, pushed it slightly further up, but they thought maybe they would have sneaked it in at this point in time. And these things anyway, I mean, Afghan was taking the decisions in the field. That was quite clear. It's not that Gulbuddin Naib would have put himself on. So
yeah,
it's just one of those calls. It could have gone either way.
Now, if you look at Pakistan, I mean, all this time we were saying if, can they, would they, might they, how will they? And now I think those questions are starting to be answered. The only question we need to answer now is how will they not? And that's the one we need to address. Their last game that they've got, we've seen their 3 victories against South Africa, New Zealand and Afghanistan. Remember, before that, after they lost to India, we were saying, hang on, South Africa is weak. New Zealand, you can catch them on a bad day, law of averages. And Afghanistan, we were giving them. Now it's happened, it's reality.
Yeah, the only danger out here for them really is that they want England to go out of the equation. They don't want to end up on a joint tie on points with 4th place with New Zealand. That's what they don't want. So effectively what they want is England, once England loses one of their matches, then they say all they've got to do is beat Bangladesh. They need England to really lose tomorrow.
Yeah, there you go. So that's where Pakistan stand on 9. But we've been talking about that parallel with 1992, Robin. The parallel they don't want is 7 years later. They don't want to remember 1999 in Bangladesh.
No, I don't think they will. I think leaving parallels aside, as in if you just look strictly at this group, this top 4 right now, these seem like, for me, they seem like this certain top 4 that's going to happen at the end of these league stage. I think this is the top 4 that will end up playing the semi-finals. That's my feeling. Having said that, just the way I think Pakistan are playing right now, I think they seem like they're playing as a unit. They're playing for each other, and and for me, you stack them against Bangladesh one-on-one. I see a big gap with the Bangladesh bowling lineup outside of Shakib. To be very honest, right now, and maybe to an extent, Mehdi Hassan, there's a huge gap, and I don't think that will be covered in that game against Pakistan. You know, I would love for Bangladesh to be there in the top 4. I would want to see them in that top 4, but to be very honest, I don't see that happening simply because of that lack in that bowling lineup. The batting's doing all the job that it can do. The bowling just doesn't match up for that semi-final stage, not just yet. It's unfortunate because they have such a bomb overside that we'd say, you know, in our terms we'd call them a bomb side. They just lack the bowling.
Yeah, and I think if everything Robin says comes true, then we're possibly looking at 2 great rivalries in the semi-finals. Australia, New Zealand, India, Pakistan, quite possible.
Quite a possibility. It's a large possibility, and I tend to agree with him. And one thing you note is that every World Cup that you have, bowlers become more and more important towards the business end of the tournament, because, you know, hitting 320s, 330s is easier in the beginning of the tournament. There's less pressure. I don't do it this match, I have more matches to catch up, you know. So I'll get 320 today. If I don't, I'll get 280. I'm not under pressure. Now look at the matches. Nobody's crossing 300. That's what happens in the business end of a tournament. So what happens is batsmen tend to dominate the beginning of a tournament, bowlers tend to dominate the end of tournaments.
And with this scenario set up, we have an absolute cracker, a mouth-watering Sunday treat for you with India taking on England. And how important is it? Not just because we follow India so closely and we are the host nation up against them, but it's in the context of where we stand at this stage. For England, they simply have to win. India, of course, can afford not to win, and they're still pretty much secure in that top 4. But for England, it's going to be do or die.
Yeah, it's do or die too.
Who would have thought?
Do or die, and you know, they're playing away from home because they're playing in Birmingham, where 80% of the crowd will be Indian in any case.
Yeah, they're going to be under the they're going to be under the impression that they're playing at home, but they're actually playing an away game tomorrow.
They know that. They are
very aware of it. I think every team that plays India in their home country, you know, are going to feel like they're playing an away game when they play India. And I remember back in 2007, this is like 12 years ago, we were playing South Africa at Durban, and it felt like we were playing at home, man. So, you know, it's 2019. We've reached places away from home.
Yeah, we've added 200 million more to our population.
Yes.
Yeah, the English should be regretting invading us 250
yeah,
years
look
ago.
where we are going now.
Straight back to Plassey, 1757.
Yeah, but they'd be regretting it tomorrow. They'd be like, why did we damn invade that country?
Imagine discussing that at a team meeting. Can we actually go back and fix things?
That bloody Robert Clive. Yes. Meet Jafar. Why did you have to pay him money? Why did you bribe him? Go back again, change it.
We're talking geography lessons. We've gone straight into a history lesson.
It's really late right now. You can tell, right? Because we're really sliding into different subjects right now.
But I think with England, they're sliding all over the place, because it's not just their performances, the kind of things they've been saying, that Johnny Bairstow quote, having lost Jason Roy, but they're expecting to have him back. So that'll be the one piece of good news they'll cling on to.
They'll cling on to Jason Roy. I'm sure they'll cling on to Jason Roy. They'll probably like to come in there tomorrow, bat first, put something there. Vince has been looked out of form, and then the problem is, even when he was looking slightly better, he got a complete Jaffa from Stark. You know, a ball like that anyone can get. It's very difficult to face. So yeah, that's what I see happening tomorrow. They'll look to get Jason Roy, and they'll look to bat just to calm their nerves, because I don't think this English batting side wants to be under the pump, chasing 300.
As a cricketer, I feel for Jason, like James Vince, you know, because you're there as a player to play for your country at the highest stage, and you know, the best tournament in the world. And you go out there with all the right intentions. You prepared well. You're in good form before the tournament, and you go out there and you get a chance because your mate is injured. You want to make up for the gap that for the amount that he scores. You go out there with the right intentions, and you get the kind of jaffers that you get from Mitchell Starc. And you got a feel for the guy. You really hope that a guy like him is still kept on after the World Cup, because sometimes when teams do badly or when they lose momentum and they suddenly lose and they're out of the tournament, there's lots of chopping and changing, and you really hope that for his sake, because any as a cricketer, I feel that you sympathize with someone who's goes into the right intention and doesn't end up scoring. I feel for that guy.
So, but either way, we know we feel for him, but it's likely to be, if all is fit, and that's what we're hearing, that Jason Roy will walk straight in, not expecting any other changes. With Team India too, it's been a fairly solid, settled combination, a winning combination too. Yes, Rishabh Pant is now in the mix, and there have been a few murmurs about getting him in as that X factor, but it's probably not quite that time. Had this happened maybe 3-4 matches earlier, are we talking about disturbing anything there? Bhuvi might be fit, but that's the big conundrum.
He might be fit, but he's just taken, what, 8 wickets in 2 matches? It's a tough call to replace Shami at this point in time, especially the way he's been bowling. See, one is the wickets.
Shami and Behrendorff are not going anywhere from those respective teams.
They aren't, but you can't. There's no like-for-like matchup with Bhuvi and Nathan Coulter-Nine. With all due respect, I think Bhuvi's bowling brilliantly at this point in time. Nathan far less so. But I think that you wouldn't make a change in that, and knowing the leader that Virat has been since the start of this tournament, or a little early before that, that he will back his players. That he will back Vijay Shankar right now, and I don't think he will leave Vijay Shankar out for Rishabh. I'd be very surprised if that happens.
Do you think Bhuvi coming in?
No, very hard, unless they think of giving Jasprit a break and Bhuvi plays. Otherwise, I don't see him coming.
I wouldn't want to do that if you end up losing the game.
No, they won't do that. They won't do that. India is waiting for the cue against their name, and I think that tomorrow's victory will be the cue against that board.
And of course, Vijay Shankar, that Robin just mentioned, Virat has backed him at the press conference, and that's going to be.
Yeah, he's publicly backed him. So I mean, the only thing he can possibly do is maybe send Dhoni in at 4.
I hope that happens. I truly hope that happens, Joyda. I really hope
advocating that from day one.
MS comes in at number 4 because he's the best guy to soak up that pressure. No one does it better than him in world cricket. I can go on a limb and say that no one handles pressure better than MS does. Virat's right up there. Virat's got his own way of dealing it, but this one really absorbs the pressure. Virat has a way of taking that pressure and throwing it back on the opponents. MS doesn't do that. He really, it's like that teasing boundary where the fielder has to run along with the ball right to the boundary line and then lose it at the line. It's like that. MS is like that. That would be a definition for MS and how he absorbs pressure.
I've not heard that particular analogy before. I think it's absolutely spot on.
He truly makes you feel like, you're in with a chance, you're in with a chance, and you're like, damn, it's gone. It's like that.
So I don't think there's any doubt as to who are the favourites going in for tomorrow for a variety of reasons. Nothing patriotic about it either.
Absolutely. No, nothing patriotic about it. But I think England will throw the kitchen sink at India, and that'll be interesting to watch. Because they'll go hard. And that'll be good to watch. So it'll be a great game of cricket. I would be interested in seeing what India does if they win the toss. I think India will bat as well, but it'll be interesting.
Yes. Robin mentioned the queue against the name. Yes, that's what India want. There's going to be plenty of queues at the ground because we know the crowds that come in there to support India. There'll be about 10 Englishmen as well supporting them. But there's another person who is wanting you to queue up to play against him. And this time he said, because it's a big game, he's going to send out a message to all of you. Listen to this.
Hello to all the players of my 11 circle as I sit in Birmingham at Edgbaston a day before the game. It's a very warm day in England, and the weather temperature has gone a lot higher than what it was last week, and it's going to have an effect on the game. You saw the game last day here where the ball was spinning square, and I think that's going to be a problem for England in this game. So England will have to be very careful of what surface they provide against India tomorrow. It's a do or die game for them. If they win, they stay afloat in the competition. If they don't, then they're out of this. So it's a big game for them. So I will be very keen to look forward on the surface tomorrow. But overall, it's a very hot day and it's going to have an effect tomorrow. It's a lot cooler tomorrow, but today is a lot hotter. So all those who are playing in my 11 circle will very soon get to know what Dada's team is. So keep competing with Dada's team and hopefully you will get the better of Dada.
Dada, chashma kothay, Dada? Where are your specs?
Dada looks so cute, no? He's like holding the, you know that he's holding the phone up here and he's doing it, you know. It's not like he's placed the phone somewhere and like doing it. He's so cute. It's just adorable. Just that video is so cute, man.
It is. But the only one thing that I didn't agree, and he shouldn't have said it, is that you're going to get to know Dada's team. He keeps it a very well guarded secret. He's not going to let you his team because of the promise that he's made. That is, of course, hashtag Dada Ka Wada. And why are we saying that? Let's remind you. This is why. How do you play My 11 Circle for any first-timers? And I doubt there are any first-timers out there. In case you are, that's where you've got to go. Select the match. India versus England. Create your own team. And you've got to play against Dada's team that you will not know about until after the show. And then we will unravel our Beat the Expert champion. Well, we've got plenty of Dadas that we deal with. One sitting in Birmingham there. He said it's going to be a little chillier tomorrow, so he'll have his muffler and monkey cap on. No, he won't. He'll just wear his better suit. But the other Dada in the studio, the one who asks all the questions.
What do you want?
I want the answer.
You got the couch. I mean, you didn't even talk about the couch.
Oh, yes.
How modest for you today?
Yeah, like because we called him a hustler, Dada.
Yes.
If we didn't call him a hustler, he wouldn't have spoken about the
All right, so let me just talk about it now. My 11 Circle Expert couch was with me, although it was half me, half GK that time. And now it's solely mine, having predicted the Australia victory. So even the margin didn't matter. Hustler. Yes, of course, hustler it was. Now, where were we? Yes, I was coming to you.
Question. Okay.
Question and answer.
So here's the question. It was a fairly easy one today. As a player, I hold an international cricket record. After I became my former team's coach, my nephew scored a golden duck. But my team still won the tournament. Who am I? And the answer is Phil Simmons. He coached the West Indies to that 2016 T20 ODI championship. His nephew was Lendl Simmons, who actually got, I think, a man of the match in the semi-finals, reached the finals, got a golden duck, but then Brathwaite made it okay for them. So
yes,
that was it. Lendl Simmons was the answer. Phil Simmons was the answer.
Phil Simmons was the answer. Lendl, Phil, but I mean, if you think of Phil Simmons today and the face that he had, that was the face that summed up Afghanistan.
I thought he'd have a good moment. Sorry, I just didn't know he'd have a bad one.
Yeah, it was a well-chosen question. We thought Phil Simmons would be happy about it, but he'll be happy because he's the subject of our answer. And we have a winner. Who's our winner? Let's find out. And it's Pranav Kamath. Pranav _SK.
No, Pranav Kamath is also a usual suspect.
Yeah, but why is there no cricket?
But it's not the usualest suspect. Yes, well done, Pranav. We'll keep the questions coming. Lots more to talk about tomorrow when it's... Sorry, lots more to talk about today.
In 12 hours, we'll see you.
Yes, in a very few number of hours, we're going to see you. It's already Sunday. It's going to continue to be Super Sunday as India take on England. Thank you, gentlemen. Get some sleep.
Yes.
And we're going to be back bright and early.
Get some rest, Joyda.
Will do.
India versus England. It's the big one. India the favourites, but England desperate to win. My 11 Circle presents Cricbuzz Live. There's so much to look forward to.